Okay, calling the meeting to order. We do roll call.
Okay, Sandy, you're here. Phil is absent. Yes. I'm here. Ron.
Schultz.
Here. Yep. Dan, Window's here. John. And Bill, you're here. Thank you.
Okay, can you stand for the pledge? 1 second. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Was our meeting noticed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do we have a motion to approve the minutes for the November 20th meeting?
Motion to approve?
Discussion, corrections, any information?
I have a correction on the minutes.
Okay.
My wife isn't applying for the library position. In there you put she is, I was using that as an example,
Oh,
but she got wind of it, and we had a really big fight about it last night, so.
This is for the movie?
What? I'm kidding.
If that was an example.
Yeah, I was just using it as an
I
example.
must have been checked out someplace. Oh my
now
God.
yes, decided to apply, so I'm now staying home.
She's contacted an
I will
attorney
correct that. Give me your email, phone number, all that.
redacted.
Send her a bourbon ball. Everything.
Applied at the University of Iowa or Ohio, you said,
Oh,
Matthew?
yeah, that's right.
Illinois.
I amend my motion as stated.
I will strike that whole section. I will do that. Thank you. And I will send a copy out.
Yeah.
We'll update
Any
it.
other discussion?
Our secretary is very, very good at taking notes. Make sure you note a joke next time.
Right.
Well,
Nothing gets by.
I try not to give too much, but I try to give enough.
Okay, so all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we also need a motion to approve the minutes of the workshop.
Motion to approve the workshop minutes.
Discussion?
Is there a link to that video?
Yes,
It wasn't on the minutes, but
you sent it to me. I'm not sure if it's posted on, or if it's not, I'll make sure Blake does
It
that.
was emailed out to the entire board. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
may
it to
find
you.
it. Okay, it may not be on, I had a problem too, but I'll make sure it gets posted. Blake's gotta do the other one too, so yeah.
Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, I don't have any announcements other than to thank everybody for a great year and working so hard. We all got through the 2024, so I appreciate everybody's input. I guess, hello everybody. Anybody here have anything?
You don't want to talk about Snoopy Dance?
What happens at the Christmas
That's
party?
right.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Vault.
Never happened.
She's a vault.
I don't think we have much on agency rules, procedures. I know we're waiting for an update.
We are going to do a bigger, serious report in January, and there will be stuff that probably will need to be stamped as approved, because we're trying to capture policies that we talked about in the past, and they're gonna be written down, and I think it'd be important for the board to say, yeah, we really did mean that, we still wanna keep doing that. And then the second part is that I've had sort of an epiphany hanging out with directors lately, and they all have their own procedures, manuals, or employee notebook or rules and all that. So what I think my project then rises up to less about what's going on at the entities, more about rules for PHCSA, except where all the rules apply to all the employees of all the entities, if that makes any sense. And I don't want to get more complicated than that because I'm eating But in January, we'll have something to look at and to hold and talk about. And I don't wanna get into 400 of them until we're sure that the 10 that we're gonna talk about in January are in the right order, doing what the board wants, moving in the right direction, and all that. That's where we are in that.
Ron, can you add something to your list for primarily Mark and I, that there's new legislation in January, and Andrew, I don't know if you've heard about it, for background screening for athletic coaches. Have you heard about that, Mark, from FRPA? I know we're gonna have a meeting next month regionally to discuss how it impacts us. Much like Mark, our two largest groups self-police, but how do we ensure we're protected, that Little League is really background screening the way they're supposed to, and our soccer organizations are. So I just thought maybe you could add that to your list.
That's a new state, Greg?
Beginning of 2025, January 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's something to do with the VEX program and FTLE and how they're going to speak into each other. And we learned about it at a conference, and Stephen, you probably remember better than I do, but I know I have a meeting with directors from around the county to talk about that. But I thought, since you're working on policies, that might be something FICSA would want us to implement, to where I'm being told it's happening, but how do we ensure that our subcontractors on the field are.
Question for, do they have a job description to refer to? Because that's
No.
something maybe,
Mm-mm.
because if they're just using a title, that could be a slippery slope, because that could be wide open, very narrow. I mean,
Yeah, it's athletic coaching is how the state of Florida is listing the requirement. So it's not an employee of ours, but my concern is, we have, I don't know how many coaches you have, Mark, in football or soccer or baseball, but we don't control that. According to their leagues, they background check.
Each league has they have a set of rules that they have to follow, like if it's Little League or if it's Babe Ruth, and they all have to follow those rules within that for hiring coaches.
And we don't wanna get into the depth of that tonight, but then I think the rule for FICSA would be how do you guarantee that they
That's my point.
actually do
I think it's
what it
gonna
is?
be a level 2, isn't it?
It's a level 2, for
Yeah,
sure.
2.
Which is a change from what it used to be.
Right, so maybe you'll get a lot of business here.
Well, no, she won't.
Not right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the
Are you
kind
sure?
of
Right.
thing where
So are you sure January 1st?
Beginning January 1st, 2025, conduct a level 2 background screening fingerprint check of each current and prospective athletic coach through FTLE VEX program is what.
Background checks for coaches for independent sanctioning authorities, FLSA. Effective July 1st, 2024.
Yeah, you got
so
pushed
it's right
later.
now.
Are you looking at FYSA?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the soccer organization, and I know they do it. Well, I know they say they do it, but I don't have any, we have something in our personnel file that Beth could go to if somebody questioned if I ever was cleared. I don't have anything. I just have their word. The organizations are saying, yes, we're doing it. Little League International requires it.
Can they request from the user groups to show proof?
Yep. This is under Florida Statute 943.0438.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It sure is. Anyway, I think it's something we should be aware of.
I think we
FDLE.
should.
Okay, yes.
And we'll consult with our attorney about how to.
Check to January 1st, 2025. Okay. Delaying it. Okay, they delayed the implementation to January 1st, 2025.
Yeah, that's what we found out in August.
Okay.
But can they request copies of their background screenings for verification purposes from any of the user groups?
That's what we'll have to look into.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're.
I think it's on Andrew's plate right now.
So I don't think that we would have to get each individual coaches, but if we got some certification from each
Yeah.
league,
A statement from each.
Yeah, then it would
saying
be
all of
some-
them.
Something to cover our ass, that's all.
Yeah, we definitely need.
But those are exactly the kind of universal things that we're talking about.
It doesn't really apply to libraries, but it kind of both applies to marketing.
There will be other rules that will.
I'm sure,
Mhm.
I'm sure.
Like the robotics group out there, right? They're
They're
sponsored by us, but, because they deal with teams, we made sure all of them had level 2
Boy
background
Scout
checks.
troops and all that.
Sure,
And here's
on
also,
our property.
Okay, so that's where we're going, and we should get a product, we will get a product in January. Mainly to make sure that that's what we want it to look like, and that's the process to follow. that we will fund.
Move on to treasurer's report.
Sandy,
We don't have any.
Sorry.
if we don't, like, I think Erica's idea is a pretty good one, and I think if we don't say what's gonna happen next, it might just get lost. And then we'll meet next month and say, oh yeah, what about that? So do we wanna make a motion that we do something about that? Or require that the two athletic directors do something about it?
Andy's in depth over there, he's reading.
Yeah, because there's this January 1st, 2026 date.
I think that's when they're gonna both speak to each other. I vaguely remember when we were in that
On the
class.
healthcare administration, okay.
Yeah. Because right now, the two background systems don't talk to each other.
No, I think
Shocking.
you should put it on for at least a discussion item for the next meeting.
Let Andy find out what he can and go from there.
Good call,
We'll
Dan.
put that on the next month's
And
agenda.
that will be an example of example of how we'll approach things like that in the future. We find out something that probably applies to all of us, and then we decide it does or doesn't, and then it goes in our policies and it's written down.
So make sure that's on the agenda for next month.
This is
Erica, can you email me more of the information? Like have it, I'll get it on the agenda, right?
Could you then send it to me? I just wanna make sure I capture it,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Send it to me, yeah, thank you.
Okay, now we move on to the treasurer's report.
We need an AED for AD. So, we met with, the directors and I met with our new liaison from Cadence Bank today. Well, we found out that all of the combined funds that Cadence is holding is only insured up to $250,000. Not dollar for dollar like we were told, or like the board was told back when we made the switch over to Cadence Bank. I know, trust me, it's been, anyways. So, couple of things. There's things that can happen. We can get it protected through Cadence if we go to a central account. Because we only have one EIN. If we go to a central account that, very similar like the county, you have a budget item, you have a line item for each department, but it's all in one central. Cadence can then take that money, anything over $250,000, and move it to divest it into other banks for the overnight. Once the overnight is over, all those funds get moved back into the main account again. It's a way of protecting the money for anything over $250,000. So just to kind of use round numbers, let's say we had $5 million in there, they would divest $475 million into other banks throughout the United States, and then the next morning they would move it all back. That's the option that's really the only option if we wanted to stay with Cadence. The other option is we can switch banks. Andy spoke with Chief Sanford of Palm Harbor Fire Rescue. They're dollar for dollar with South State Bank. I'll reach out to Chief Sanford tomorrow and get his contact, and then maybe start a conversation with them. But we need to do something.
John, the contact Susan Luca.
Is
That
this
was-
Susan Luke? Okay.
It is. I mean, she's been asking for 2 years since she left Cadence, or a year and a half, if we want to, talk to her
So
about.
she was the one, okay.
She's the
perfect.
one that brought
Oh,
Cadence
okay,
to
she's the one
us.
who brought Cadence to us.
And we explained the dollar for dollar. Now, how it's changed, I don't know, but
Right,
Did
well,
they change the program from when we originally started?
who knows?
who knows? Unfortunately, because we haven't had good contact with anybody there, anything can happen. But then again, too, what we also found out is that the operating accounts for each entity are non-interest bearing. Well, let me rephrase that. They are at 0.1%.
No, 0.01.
0.01%. Where we were under the assumption it was going to be, or they were under the assumption it was going to be at a money market rate. We're assuming the reason for that change is due to transactions, because if there's more than 500 transactions in an account, it does not qualify for a money market. We found out today that nobody runs more than 500 transactions a month, so there's no reason. So immediately that change is happening, because it is going to take some time for us to move banks and everything else like that. So at least the money in the operating accounts right now is going to earn interest. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So that's the bad news. We have good news, but it may just be outshadowed by all the bad news. So I will get with Miss Luca, or I'll get her information and get in contact with her and get a meeting set up with her, and
I'll send it to you right now, John.
I was just
thank
gonna
you
say, you
very
want me
much.
to send it to you?
Who's got it? Let me have it.
We all do.
I'll reach out to her tomorrow, and
I-
it's the end of the year, so, and the holidays, so
I
let's see
just
if
wanna
can.
say one thing, okay, about switching banks, okay? I don't have confidence in switching to a bank that is represented by the same person that signed us up with Cadence with the promise of dollar.
And
I was gonna
that's-
say that
and
too.
that's- and I agree with you, which is why I wanna delve into the issue at hand, because if she's the one who signed us up, so what happened?
Yeah.
That's gonna be my first question, then I'm gonna say, how can I trust you with this if,
That's
at
exactly it.
South State, if we have this problem at Cadence? So it's
I-
not gonna happen lightly.
Yeah.
And without further discussion and of course board approval.
And of course, switching banks is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
We go through this all the time and complain about it. And perhaps this group from Cadence, now that they've brought it to our attention, okay, and are trying to find remedies for it, before we, uproot ourselves and move to another bank again, let's see what our options are. Okay, at least they came through right away and said, yeah, we'll change that tomorrow to 2.5%. Okay, so I said, okay, that shows, an act of good faith.
Right.
Okay, and, maybe there are options, and because
They're not
they're
giving you
new.
the service that why didn't they tell you
Yeah.
what was going on?
Well, and that's really the big thing too.
Yeah.
Can
One
we
of the
get the
things-
next one to get this stuff in writing?
So,
So at least we got something to talk about, because we keep doing this, it's almost like this is one of our 2025 initiatives. Get a bank that is honest with us and what they tell us they actually deliver to us.
well, one of
And
the things
it's big enough to do,
Yeah.
because this keeps reoccurring.
Cadence was sold. So maybe when Cadence was absorbed, that's when it changed and nobody told us. Because all the people we dealt with in the beginning of the account, Susan, Patty, they're gone.
Patty Robinson,
They
they're all
left
gone.
and went to, so,
Right.
Well, and that's why I want to talk to Susan. I want to find out what happened, and not in an accusatory way. Just say,
No,
hey,
I
look,
know, but
we found this out. Do you know what happened?
the only reason I think you're even talking to her is because she handles the fire department. Not she, but her bank. They're also public funds. So, and they have way more millions in their account, but they have one Fed ID number. We're unique, so we don't know yet if she can
Right, we
handle
don't know yet.
4
So
accounts
that's-
under the Fed, yeah.
And that's kind of the investigation side is that we do have one EIN. If it is under one EIN, just like the fire department, it would be, and it's dollar for dollar, then we're fine. We could have all these different accounts. One EIN is really the key piece. We should be good, as long as we don't need to have a centralized account with budget line items. Then it becomes more taxing on our accounting group.
John,
Which I need to have a conversation with her.
I sent you a PDF she sent to me 2.5 years ago when she was trying to get me to bring her back here to the board, and I'm like, Susan, leave me alone. And it defines in writing what public funds are, how their bank handles it. Take a look at that before you talk to her, because I think it's great information, and then at least you have something to say, hey, I'm reading this, so are we dollar for dollar over 250,000 in our one Fed ID
And
number?
is it okay to do the mafia swap for the weird?
Yeah, overnight.
That's
Well,
amazing.
actually it is, because that's
No,
actually
I'm
how
sure-
Raymond James does it. I
It's
mean,
amazing
it
though that
is that
that's
they
the
can
script.
divest it on the overnight, because if you think about it, banks don't fail during the day.
You know, it's just a matter of wire.
Exactly, it's just a transfer of money. Brian, did you have something?
Why do we have a single?
That's the way the charter was set up.
Is one single federal ID number?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nightmare.
Who did that? Who can undo that?
Pinellas
Pinellas
County?
Yeah,
It
Commission.
makes sense to me for each of the entities. to
that's what
have
we
their
just
own.
said this afternoon.
Yeah,
If
well,
there was
you
a
need
way
to
to
look
do
at
it.
our enacting ordinance.
Well,
And frankly, again, they created one entity. That's what the county did. This is a dependent district of the county.
You know what surprises me though, I mean, with CDs, I can go to Fidelity, I can go to my bank, I can have multiple CDs in my account. It's under my name and they're all federally insured, but they're under $250,000.
As long as you're at different banks.
No, I'm at the same bank, same fidelity,
Well,
same
and-
everything. I think she's wrong. I think she's wrong.
No, if you have multiple CDs at the same bank, you're not insured for anything over 250,000.
I am.
Unless
You
Bill,
might wanna recheck that, because every other bank, you're
No,
not.
if you put it into one account, you're screwed. If you don't put it into one account, if you have multiple CDs, you're protected because they're separate numbers on the CDs. They're separate numbers, guys.
Now,
Push
I've
it.
moved to different banks because once I've hit 250,000 at one bank, I've opened up CDs at other banks.
You can do that if you prefer.
Well, it'd be easier to stay with one, but I assumed that $250,000 limit
It's
was
because it's
all
one
with
EIN.
one EIN.
unless
It's going
Bill,
by the EIN, not the account number, I
It's
thought.
the account, if you're having one blow up.
right,
mega
unless they're
CD.
doing for you what Cadence is willing to do for us, where let's say we have $2.5 million, they're gonna get us 10 CDs. They're all gonna say Cadence for us on our side, but it may be Joe Blow's bank, blah, 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 and they're
That's what I'm
managing it.
saying.
Two
Yeah,
account
that
numbers.
makes sense.
That's exactly what they're
That's
saying.
what
They will
they're gonna change
divest the rest of that money into other financial institutions to not exceed the 250,000 limit. Chances are that's what your bank is doing for you.
Maybe,
Maybe not.
Chances are,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could we finish the discussion on the single number?
we gotta go to the county and get our
The
charter.
county, the county charter states one
Why
number.
don't we do that? Wouldn't that make it, all the directors' lives better?
Well, I mean, I think it opens up the ability for us to apply for grants differently, to have, the SAM.gov number goes away. I do think having separate Fed ID numbers would be great. I just don't know if that's something the county sees in their future.
But I think a lot of it might also have to do with the taxing district as well, because the taxing district is FICSA.
Yeah.
And then the funds come to us and then are distributed to the entities through their accounts.
But to Ron's point, maybe
Maybe,
there could be something edited in that, and I don't know what it entails. I don't know, but
I
if,
think that's the point, we don't really know what it would.
right,
take
the money
to-
goes into the 59-2720211 account, and then instead of the county dividing it into the 4 accounts, like they do now, they separately ACH us. Fix it with ACH. Lois is 680,000. Mark's, you know what I'm saying? So
well, we wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to have all
that
of
would be
that
your
money.
job as treasurer. All in favor? Oh.
Yeah, one more question.
It's Dan's fault. I'm even sitting here. No, I'm kidding.
Now,
Dan's all quiet now.
Yeah.
Go get him.
now, the county sends you money out of the FICSA, EI, whatever.
EIN.
Yeah.
But they allocate it to us 4 ways.
Right. It's allocated 4 different ways.
Even though the tax set up for you.
It's
Right.
not the same.
So everybody's
It's not
trim
the same.
notice-
Everybody, it's not the same because Mark's paid differently.
Well, so is Lois, but what I'm
Right.
saying is the county doesn't send one lump sum right now. They're sending to each individual
Or
bank account.
individual.
Which,
I see
if
what
you
you're
had an individual number, there's really no change, and it would be more convenient and more opportunities for the directors if they could do that. in their
Potentially.
jobs.
You have
It
to
also
change the establishment, what you are. The county will have to change that.
If we had separate EINs, it still wouldn't, if we stayed with Cadence, it wouldn't solve all of our
No.
issues.
Actually,
Because-
it would, because you could then still have the
Yes, we're all
divestiture.
funds.
You could have the
Yes.
sweep go on
That's true.
every evening. So that's,
Yeah, because it's dealing with
The problem
sub-accounts
with-
that would be problematic.
The problem with only one number has come up in other.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So, maybe we just chill until we get the Cadence thing figured out and all that, but
It's
at
one-
some
it's
point,
one MSP.
let's go ask the county.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes sense to the directors to do that, have an individual in that.
I mean, I think, the size of our organizations is certainly large enough to warrant individual identification, so there wouldn't be an issue there.
This hasn't been brought up with the county before, just passively in discussion?
No, but here's the intriguing part. Like each one of us
well, the
has
village, I think, is
a sub board, my advisory board, your friends, and your advisory, your friends. They all have EIN numbers,
Everybody but for him.
right, separate from FICSA. So like in my mind, I'm thinking, so the money's allocated as a taxing MSTU unit, I heard you say, Andy, to that 59-272, that's the FICSA allocation.
Right.
And then FICSA would allocate it to its 4 different Now, I don't know how that works and how we as directors would get control of our advisory board's EIN number if we don't want to apply for another, but what would cause us not to do that?
Do our advisory boards have EINs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ours does.
they're individual, yeah, you guys each have EIN, yeah, each one of your advisory boards has EIN.
No, I'm saying if there was a problem applying for a different
Oh.
EIN number, that could be a workaround if that's something we feel is worthwhile doing, is all I'm saying.
I think you're gonna probably have to get an opinion from the county attorney to give it to the county. To determine what they wanna do, and I think you just have to go through Commissioner Eggers first, is what we always do to address these issues, to see if he's comfortable with us moving forward with it.
Madam Chair, who would you like to do that?
I can talk to him, I don't mind doing it, I'll do it, but just, I need to move it backward, because
I'll give you some of that.
I would need to have.
And
It doesn't solve the cadence issue regardless of like
No,
the
it
Matthews
doesn't.
issue,
No, it
you know.
does, right.
You need to find out that background information, because we were told one thing for sure
Yeah.
when we first went there.
And I mean, honestly, the organization that sold us the account left. So
Correct.
like it's South Corp or whatever they're called now, I don't even know, Bancorp, South Corp, I don't know.
And I think we have to get the federally insured, it's insured to the federal government. We gotta get that policy and look at it, because Cadence may be interpreting the policy incorrectly.
Is there,
So we have to look at that policy and just make sure that it's account by account basis versus just grouping basis. I mean, because again, they don't insure it, the federal government insures it. The bank goes under.
Just the thought too, if there's multiple EIN numbers and there's multiple businesses, are you gonna be able to have health insurance all under one big group plan? Or would they be small?
Everything would have to be split out
Yeah.
from
So
that.
then you could be a small
So now you're
business
going
and then now
back
you've got
into
all the,
Separate
Pricing could
groups.
change.
and now you've got,
You've been doing all
Good
this stuff to combine.
Yeah.
Yeah, good comment. Like I said, only if it makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
good comment.
well, when we get the bank information, where do we keep all that paperwork?
In
Where is
our
it?
office.
Okay, so it's a central location.
I would assume, Shelby, you've got something somewhere.
I'm sure.
Okay, so it's kept there, so we do have,
Yeah, wherever the
They-
records.
when they did it, there should be paperwork stating that they gave you the right kind of account. It should be in there at some point, and did it change?
Like I said, I can only imagine it probably changed when they merged.
That makes
And-
sense.
But where, okay, where does those mailings go? To the fix-up office?
Yeah, anything corporately like that, yeah.
So it might be.
Because we don't even get mailed bank statements anymore. A lot of the information is electronic. So, we went through a switch too. So maybe there's been some loss of, maybe we were notified and we never knew, again, to me, it's water under the bridge. If the account isn't insured, we really don't have a choice but to make sure we get it insured.
Correct.
And maybe that's what we should do first before we get Eggers involved.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, we need to have all the
Well, we have to
information,
protect our
and you need to make your decision
Mhm.
before you go to him to determine whether that's what you want.
So what I'll do is I'll get a hold of Susan in the next week or two. I mean, with the holidays, it may not be till afterwards, but we'll have something to discuss
And
at the next
Cadence will be
meeting.
providing information.
Yeah, right, and Cadence is gonna
Yeah.
provide us more information as well. So we'll have a much better picture. I mean, this just happened 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 2:00 is when we had a meeting, 5 hours, 6 hours ago, 5 hours ago. Anyways, that's when all this came to light. So we're just kind of still processing.
But give them the good news now.
The good news, because we do have good news, okay? They
Save that
immediately
part.
changed all the operating accounts to interest bearing, so that's number one. One of the concerns that the directors had was deposits, especially with deposits, checks and things like that. Well, the easy access would be as mobile deposit off the app. That they could deposit those checks via mobile deposit. Not a problem. We all do it now, so we can do it on an entity level. The only difference is if there's cash deposits, they would physically have to be brought into the branch. But Lois is really the only one that would be, I guess, what's the word I'm looking, inconvenience, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. But if she made those cash deposits one time a week versus every day or every other day, it's a lot easier. Or even after every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It makes things a little bit easier.
And
So
they
the
would
mobile
be
deposit's
providing a
nice.
scanner.
Huh?
They would be
Yeah,
providing
they
a
could
scanner.
provide a scanner for us if they want, but there would be a fee. for the audit, for the electronic check processing. So that way, even if Mark had them, he could come down here, scan his checks and get sent in as well. So that's those are two.
But can still use the mobile app.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
you do on
optimal way to
personal,
do
you
it.
take a picture of the front and the back.
So efficient.
ACH, thank you. I can't even read my own chicken scratch. So, adding ACH to the accounts. So, instead of writing all these checks every month, doing ACHs, pushes to the vendors and everything else like that, makes things a lot easier. So, Cadence is going to come back with the cost of what would be based on the number of transactions seen average per month, and then compare that to check costs, envelopes, time of staff, and of course, stamps. Makes things a lot
And the time it takes
easier.
to reissue checks at the United
That
States
the
Post
US
Office
Post
loses
Office
more often.
loses.
Right.
And
greatly
then
reduces fraud.
establish with the vendors, if we will print you a check, but you have to come here to pick it up. And if they don't want to do that, it goes ACH. Now, the ACH is done this way. Number one, a facilitator will be set up on the entity level. Could be a number of different people that can start facilitating that. One of the directors of the board would have to be the authorizer. So it's our two-step, two-signature process.
Right, so we'd have 8 authorizers and that.
Correct.
So that's all digital?
That's all digital. We would have
So
an
no
app.
more Mark?
Huh?
Oh, I like the visits.
I do too. I mean,
It's nice.
I do as well.
Listen, you can still visit,
I
just
know.
not to sign checks.
Anytime.
But anyway,
That's awesome.
But that's a very good thing. But again, it's a cost overall.
It's a security thing too.
And a lot,
Fraud,
right,
yeah.
it's a lot more security because with the fraud that has happened in the past on some of the accounts, it eliminates that. Checks aren't gonna be lost, washed, reprinted through, or anything else like that.
Well, and I think the estimated cost is like $40 a month and 14 cents a
A
transaction.
transaction, yeah.
So if you divide
What's
that
your
by,
time worth?
well, not
What's
just
his
the
time worth
time.
driving to my house to
That's,
have
that
that?
was, that's what we talked about, yeah.
Yeah, what's the time worth?
Just
And then
everything.
it's not just their time, it's our time going in to sign it. But even at $40 a month plus 14 cents a transaction, if you're running 200 transactions a month, multiply that out for the check cost and stamp cost and everything, and our time, it more than makes
And
it
the
up.
efficiency. And
Exactly. So
good.
that's a good win on that. So those are the big things, and they're also looking at the possibility of consolidating if technology will allow credit card transactions. So like Erica during her time for summer camp, all of that is paid via credit card. So the credit card processing is what they're going to be looking at, maybe taking that out if it is less expensive than what's already used. Not every entity uses the same processor.
We all use different ones.
They all use different ones. So that's an opportunity to possibly bring things in to line. Matthew and Lois don't run a lot of credit cards, and if they do, it's only at special events. And
But
that's,
we will be adding credit card to our public printing soon, so that'll increase.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So-
We have the passports.
yeah, and then passports for Lois as well. So, maybe that would be an additional cost savings if we can kind of consolidate. But we got to get the main account straightened out first before we start looking at some of these ancillary items. ACH is automatic. That's going to probably go through. Once the pricing comes back, the mobile deposit or the scanner, that's going to be up to the entity directors on what they want to do with that. The accounts have already been changed to a higher interest.
Ask if we need a motion.
No, this is it. They can choose that kind of stuff on the banking.
I said everything it's information.
Yeah. Cool. And that's it. Any questions? Directors, did I miss anything? Yes, Dan.
Are you telling me that right now, the FICSA entities are covered for 250 in total right now,
In
as it
total,
stands now?
as it
And
stands
what
at
is the
this moment.
solution to solve that tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
To solve that tomorrow, what would we need to do?
If we wanted to stay with Cadence
If
Bank,
we have to stay with Cadence,
we'd have to switch to one main account. And then all of their monies would be commingled into one account. And then at the end of every day, that money, anything over 250,000 in that account will be swept and moved into different entities and then moved back. I would have to get with the accounting group and see if that's even possible, what can be done. And then it's also a comfort level depending on with the directors, because there is a lot of money that
How
we're
much?
talking about.
How much is vulnerable
Millions.
now?
How much what?
How much is vulnerable, uninsured?
Uninsured? What do we we figured what about?
272.75 million.
Yeah, roughly about
Probably more than that.
$2.75, $3 million.
$2.5 million in the hole.
Yeah. Anybody nervous today?
Yeah,
I'm
so
very nervous.
I like,
Yeah,
We all are,
I
we
like
all
the
are,
market
but this is
today.
not something that
No,
you
no,
can
I-
change tomorrow.
well,
That's what I'm getting at, we can't change this tomorrow.
what I'm getting at is of the two options, which is do nothing and talk about potential of this bank, that bank, what are we gonna do? During that time, if Cadence fails, we drop the ball. That's on us as a board.
Correct.
So I make a motion that we move immediately to whatever Cadence has to do to cover us FDIC insured government funds.
But you're saying that can't be done?
Whatever it takes us.
No, not yet. John.
It can be done, but can we track it? That's gonna be kind of the key issue. Because again, think of it this way, you have one account that 4 different people have access to, and you're taking 4 separate accounts and moving them into one. How do we track we need to be able to make sure we can track who's got what goes where, and then basically look at it as kind of an accounting, instead of taking them as entities, they now become departments. I have to get with the accounting group and make sure, say, Ellen, can you do this? Can we change our QuickBooks? Then I have to think about what are the auditors gonna think about this? All of a sudden making this change as we did, especially after the beginning of the fiscal year. So there's a lot of ramifications that, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it cannot be done tomorrow. This is gonna, and it's gonna take a minimum of 3 weeks to get everything figured out and straightened out.
Dan's rebuttal?
I just made a motion.
Right.
Second.
Do you have any other ideas
I mean,
from knowing John's
the
perspective?
reason for my motion was because at this point we're on the hook, and if it fails, who are we gonna blame?
I believe Ellen's out of town currently, I think.
I don't care what the accountants say, they'll be paying the accountant to figure stuff out. This is what we did, figure it out, put it on paper, they have GAAP rules, they know what to do. This isn't rocket science, this is a potential failure of a bank. Is the bank gonna fail? Probably not. What if it does? 3 banks failed this year. Big banks. They got bailed out, everyone was happy. What if Cadence fails?
I don't disagree with your concern. Well, we need a second
We
before
need
we
a
can
second
discuss.
before
We
you
have
have
any
further
more
discussion.
discussions?
Second.
Okay, now we can discuss.
So I don't disagree, Dan, with your concern, because I think we all left that meeting sucker punched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I, looking at my accounts, am nervous. But it's not like Erica moving her, $10,000 to a bank and we're happy we move it. There's a lot of moving parts to changing banks. And I understand what you're saying. I don't think it could be done on December 20th or whatever the date is, 18th. I think it's going to happen after the first of the year. I don't think we can, because we've got so many things ACHing out of there that affect our employees. We have payroll coming out of there that affects our employees. I don't think we can pull that together Christmas week. I'm being honest.
If it takes a week, or it takes 2 weeks, or it takes 3 weeks, or 4 years, it's gonna take that time. But we
Understood.
start that process now, so that in 2 weeks it's done. And then we can say,
We have started that process.
We did.
Well, that we did.
That started
Yes.
this afternoon.
We told them to look into
We
that.
asked them what we told them what we needed.
And we wanted,
They're gonna
we
get back
wanted
to us. So the process is in motion.
so
responding
if they
quickly.
respond tomorrow or Monday and say, we wanna do this, do we wanna have to meet again as a board and say, go do it? Can you guys make that change without the authority to fix it?
According to Andy, and I believe you said that's a banking issue, we've never come to the board before, other
Only
than
time
as an
we've come to the bank is to have
FYI, I
them
put money in
change it.
CDs or something like that, but not for approval.
I don't think you even had to come to the board to change for CDs.
We did.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
it was.
It
It was a
FYI.
courtesy, but it
Right.
wasn't
Yeah,
required.
it's an FYI,
So-
not a
Okay.
approval.
The only other thing is, and again, you're right, the accountant works for us. So if we screwed up and she's gotta do extra work, well, that's what we pay her for. But, that process, that when they were talking about the sweeping and was a lot for me. And I know I'm not a banker and I know I'm not an accountant, but I'm pretty damn smart and I didn't get it. So I'm concerned about jumping into that.
No,
And I feel like it's a temporary solution
it's
to
something that's-
potentially,
It's very common. I started a community bank, so
Right.
I'm very familiar with this. That's a normal process.
no, I'm not saying it's not normal. But I think it would make better sense to check with South State and see if they're actually a public funds bank and to see if
Well,
that's even an opportunity before we switch everything.
I think the biggest thing that upset all of y'all, and obviously all of us, is the fact that we weren't getting information that something had changed.
Correct.
But Dan's right. This board has a fiduciary responsibility to make a change as soon as possible. And I think his motion is, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, is to move that as soon as possible.
Get the money
Dan just
safe.
said,
Yeah.
I want all of us to be in California tomorrow by car. We can't do that, but he's telling us to go to California as fast as possible.
Right. I mean, that's
So
what
I'm
you gotta
okay
do.
with that motion.
You all have this fiduciary responsibility. That's
And
what you're here for.
That's the commitment to it. And you already have your foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
So it's already, so.
Yeah, we've already got assurances that they're gonna be getting back to us, and I'm gonna stay on them. Because if I don't hear anything from by Monday,
Yes.
then I'm gonna be back on the telephone with them to find out what's going on.
I think they understood how serious
And-
the situation is.
Once we basically said that's not what we were told, I mean, understand the two people that were in front of us were not around back in that time. So it's not them, they're trying to help us figure out a solution. This was an immediate solution that they came up with. Now, they're also gonna investigate other solutions. But that's why we need to make sure we have something that
We want to put
really
the onus
quickly.
back on them.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
Right.
And that's what Dan's saying.
Because
in
if
his
I gotta
motion.
pop them under E&O, I'd rather do that.
Right.
So who's the point of contact? Are you taking the lead on this?
Yeah.
Oh, he's been holding the reins of this.
As treasurer, I have, that's what I do.
Just making sure that.
Yeah.
Who is the
Yeah.
point person? And then if,
There.
what is gonna be the deliverables?
The what?
The deliverables as you go forward, though, because
The main
we're gonna wait
deliverables,
another
yeah.
month before we get a status and get an update. I mean, is this gonna
I
happen?
can provide statuses via email. I don't think it violates anything if I do it via email.
Information is
As long as nothing comes
Don't
back.
reply all.
Don't reply all.
Just giving information.
All I'm doing is I'll give status updates as I get them. I will try to make them every kind of other day. I'll give one on Monday. And then again, I'll give one on Thursday.
Who besides Cadence are we talking
So
to?
just so we're clear.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, he's gonna call
Just
South
Just to-
State.
But I
Just to
think what we
clarify the
need to-
motion then, I would
think
say.
it's- I get what you're saying, we need to protect these funds as quickly as possible. Is your motion
The
giving?
motion is to give the four fixed directors the authority to make this happen, irrespective of time and cost at this point. Just make it happen as quickly as possible. Protect the funds. And if you come back and say, well, it's gonna cost us $30,000 in fees and accounting, okay. I'd rather that than lose $2.5 million and have 60,000 citizens upset that we have.
100,000.
But this motion is an immediate reaction to what we just learned.
Yes.
And that fulfills our fiduciary.
Yes, and it's important for you all to take action.
Correct.
Based on the information that you.
As opposed
And
to
from a
going,
legal standpoint,
we'll wait.
doesn't that protect this board that, look, we found out
Yes.
something today, it's
Yes.
5 hours later, we took
The
action.
board is taking the proper fiduciary
Right.
action, and that's what we want to do, and to protect the entities, the money, the taxpayer dollars.
I'm picturing like an open treasure chest of money at my house with a light on it right now. I'm like, yay.
You and me both.
We need to protect that.
On every CD, there's cancellation fees and stuff like that, so if we're moving stuff, it's gonna cost.
Anybody see what the Dow did today?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
What
why
did it
I'm
do?
retired. My wife said I'm not allowed.
Did the interest rate go down or something? I know it's
Yes.
something
Well,
now.
it did.
but-
Yes,
Yeah.
it went down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so did the debt.
There went my IRA.
Yeah.
Anyway, it makes you nervous, so.
So you have a
Motion
first
and
and a second for this motion. Does everybody understand it, just so we?
So we'll be in touch with John.
It's just simply clarifying, that we're moving
Is
as
John
quickly
taking
and
the helm
expeditiously
As quickly as possible to protect the dollars.
And then we have the authority to do what we need to do to make sure our money's protected.
Yeah.
And I just emailed Ellen to see if she's available tomorrow to jump on a call with me, throw around the idea, but let's find out, and then at least we're getting that stuff in motion.
Yep.
Letting her know if she's on vacation, I get it, but
It's
Yeah,
an
she's out of the
emergency.
country
It is
until-
kind of, it is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
an
she's
emergency.
out of the country now.
Thank you for
She's
your
out of the
recon,
country,
John.
yeah.
Huh?
Thank you for your recon.
The 2.75 million sounds high, but
What'd you
doesn't seem like this.
Well, she has $1 million, what?
I have 1.4 million sitting in my accounts.
She has 1.4 million sitting in her accounts.
It includes capital accounts too.
Okay.
Yeah.
The library capital accounts are banks.
Operating
No,
in
mine's
capital.
all in CDs.
She's out of
So
the
it's not really the East Lake Library's money that's at risk, it's your, basically your.
But-
cash.
No, and
But-
yours too.
But
And Mark's.
together,
Six's money.
but together, we're
It's,
all at
it's close to
risk.
3 million, yeah.
Oh, no, because Mark, you about
Well,
700,000?
I have 700, but
I wanna know some background.
it would be 450 that we'd be on the hook for us.
Yeah, so, yeah, all right, I see it. Yeah.
And then-
600 for us.
Yeah.
So we're into over, anything over
Well,
a
wait.
couple $100,000 is.
Did I misunderstand, or is there's only 250
Yeah.
for all
Oh,
of you?
yeah.
Right.
Everybody.
So
So
that was the aha moment.
Yeah, that was the aha moment
Oh,
today, that
yeah.
was like,
I just want to
oh,
clarify,
crap.
because I think that's
Because there are 8 different cadence accounts,
But
okay, but they're all under the one EIN, so it's all combined to
there's
that.
only 1,250
Right,
for
once you
everybody.
damage it,
Right.
until you lose it.
Right.
And your courts will be.
No,
Sharon
Sharon's
is
not
not
there.
carrying.
Because they weren't sure they pull the plug.
No, and if you guys remember, the reason I didn't move the CDs is we've got these 2 construction projects that I'm waiting to write checks for. And we were making good interest in them
You
in money market.
needed to be liquid on yours. So just so everyone knows, Ellen is out of the country on vacation, will not be back until the 27th. So the
Can I-
earliest I'll be able to get with her is the 30th. I will make sure to touch base, but I'll get with
We can
Cadence tomorrow. Say, look, what can we do right now to protect our funds? That's gonna be the key thing.
Can you just restate so we're all clear?
I make a motion that we, as fix the board, give the 4 entities the authority and permission and the mandate to move our funds currently at Cadence into a government protected account. Or do whatever it takes to get them protected above and beyond 250 per entity
As soon as possible.
immediately.
Re-second?
All in, any more discussion? Bill? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All in favor?
Half hour.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
John, do you want to reach out to the auditor in her absence? She's gonna be gone almost 2 weeks.
Yes.
I was
will.
thinking,
Do you
Yeah,
have their
reach out to
contact or you
Craig.
want me to send it to
Can
you?
you send it to me? I
I will.
do not have that, because I actually have to schedule the audit.
Yep.
Now, so this'll work.
You got it, dude.
yeah, you could
Send it
run
to my
this by
fixed
him.
Does
email.
anybody have a really big safe?
Send it to my fix-it email. I forwarded the last one, the public
I
funds.
just know which one you.
I know, I was, on this kind of stuff, I just don't have it. That's all right.
Nobody looking at real estate.
The other stuff.
Oh, you know what, I have one.
That's good.
A few bills.
I have a pretty big mattress.
So that's my report, sorry.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Well,
Merry Christmas.
But really, thank you.
Alright.
This would not have come to light without your investigative.
Well, actually, no, to thank you guys, and this is seriously, because I would not have gotten involved with Cadence had you guys not requested it. And as Andy told me to, basically beat them up, I think, but that wasn't the word you used, I think it was do something anyways. I gotta look back at the minutes on that one.
On the way to you, John. Click.
So anyways, I wanna thank you guys for the concerns you had just in general.
Yeah, we weren't sure
Brought
that,
this to light, I mean, all of it, just
we
kind
weren't
of
expecting
us
this.
all working together. did
All we
this,
wanted
and
was a
that's
little
what
customer
I'm
service, but a little Christmas miracle.
okay. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out as soon as possible. Now we're gonna move on to our regular scheduled program. Fall
short
Harbor
meeting.
Parks and Rec, can we get a motion to monthly financials for November?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to accept the director's report for November.
Motion to accept director.
Director, well, second.
Discussion, and after we hear from Erica.
Any questions about the report I gave you guys? We're still waiting on repairs to the roof at the main building and at Putnam's roof. I did speak to the county. We had a meeting about the construction project on Thursday, and it's in their purchasing process. So I have no idea when they've got the report from structural engineers saying there's structural damage and how they need to, what they need to, but then they have to put it out for bid. So I'm not sure the time frame. Oh yeah, nice pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we are waiting on that. We're getting a little nervous because obviously if we go to demo in the summer and we're minus half of our building, we're not sure where we're gonna put all the children. So I'm pushing the county a little bit. I have not heard anything back from the builder at Sunderman. Duke Energy did come out and plant the new pole and move some of their equipment over there. They have to remove something off the other pole before Spectrum and Nology/WOW will move their wires so that we can remove the old pole because it's in the way of construction. There were 2 tortoises discovered on the property at the center, which is anyone surprised about that in the state of Florida?
Nope.
So the county has put out a bid to mitigate because they have to either protect them on the site or move them off the site before demo can happen. So that's happening at the center. But other than that, it's, we've finally got lights at Sunderman. I think that might have happened before last meeting. I don't know. We still have repair left to do at PHCSA. But I just was talking to Trish today. I think Harbor Hollow Mike Chapel was the only site that didn't incur any hurricane damage out of the 6 we managed. So yippee for us. But we're happy to report it's almost all in the rearview mirror. We've still got some fencing work to do and the entrance at PHCSA, but steady as she goes. That is all I have.
Any questions? Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One, you have mentioned something about a door being replaced
I did.
after how many years?
Just a short 2 years or so.
What was the holdup again? I really don't recall it.
Pinellas County.
What can we do to avoid that from happening?
I don't know that it can be avoided, all seriousness. So
Fix this perspective.
I don't know. The process for capital replacement is very convoluted on the county's part. I don't know how best to say it, but it's not very clear. So every single project and every single issue that we have, it's like a brand new process. There's not one you do A, B, C, D, we'll decide if we replace it and we do it. It's never like that. I have a leak at the chapel currently. That roof is under warranty. I've asked the county for 2 years who put the roof on because I don't want to touch it. It'll void the warranty. So with the door, it started to fail. We did some kind of in-house repair. Then you could tell it was hollowing out. It's an original door. It's 26 years old. It's metal.
Outside door.
It's an exterior door. So I got a hold of Nancy. Nancy instructed me to get a hold of Diana Sweeney. I did. It still took, now, Erica, you now need to get a door professional in there and deem it needing replaced. So I had to get a door professional in there who we might know from Banning Lumber. He came in, he assessed the door and said, yes, the door needs replaced. Then they had to send out a staff person it does need, and it just takes time. And then the hurricanes did set us back a couple months, but I don't have an installation date yet. So they did say that it's on the books. The door's in. We just have to bring it in. So
Is this going to be the same thing you interface, Matthew, with your door?
I hope not.
Godspeed, baby.
2028?
Maybe.
The other question I had and you may not know the answer to this, but the advisory board meeting minutes, you put a request for funds for charity. I forget what it was. Maybe the storm. And in the notes, it says that the Palm Harbor Parks and Rec Advisory Board committed $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Does the board have money to do that?
Mhm.
See, that's different than this board. I was
have
like, did they mean like they put a hat out? Or?
No. So the Rec League Inc. is just the same exact type of organization that started East Lake Rec. The East Lake Youth Advisory Board, they were all volunteers. So the Palm Harbor Rec League was whatever year the league was formed. They were all volunteers and they raised money to support Parks and Rec because there was no FICSA. Then FICSA came in. So they've had a bank account, and through the years, they've done cornhole tournaments, they've done golf tournaments to keep money in their account. They don't have a lot of money, but they've done where they've given a $5,000 check to help, kind of like the Friends of the Library, to support scholarships. So we were doing a charity event where we handed out food, and then we did a big kids event, and that's what that $1,000 was for.
All right, that makes sense. That was nice.
What's the interest rate on that money? It's like 12 cents a month.
I think, yeah.
I think
I think it's 15 cents.
Oh, 15, that's right.
The Bank of America, yes.
Sorry, that was just always the funny part of our meeting.
Any other questions? Before I get up to use the restroom?
All in favor of accepting director's point, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Erica, no older new business?
No, thank God.
We kind of moved on too quickly. We have to accept the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
That's fine.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Nobody wants to.
Second.
Second.
Sorry, we were still in shock.
Yes, we
over
were still
the-
trying to deal with it. All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry about that. With East Lake Parks and Rec, do we have a motion to accept the financials for November?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, we need a motion to accept the director's report for November?
I'll make a motion for that too.
I'll second that one as well.
Okay, Mark, you're on.
All right, well, a lot of things happened this past month. Just a couple of the highlights, our soccer program, as you all know, we've had this top soccer program for kids with disabilities, we do on Friday nights out there. This year, we have a new director, came from another club organization that wasn't putting into the program like they should. So he's bringing 20 other kids with him from that other thing. So we'll have a bigger program now. So that's starting here again now in January. And we'll have, probably 30 to 35 kids. We feed them to them. They team up with some of our soccer players, kind of a one-on-one thing. So there's multiple different disabilities, a lot of kids with autism and several disabilities, both cognitive and physical. We're finally starting the survey on the area for the expansion project out at the Meadows. They should be starting first week in January. And so that's huge. A lot of things we made improvements on. We redid our parking lot. Well, when I say redid it, I mean that we fixed the potholes and fixed some of did some repairs. And then we did 2 coats of sealant on it. And then repainted all the bumps and handicap parking spots and added some new no parking signs and a lot of different things just to spruce the place up and keep it looking nice. It looks beautiful now, so come out there and drive on our new parking lot. Let's see. Oh, we got all our canopies put back up from after the storm. We had all the poles repainted, and then replaced the canopies. Before we did that, we power washed all of them too. We repainted our football concession building. So we put new bollards and delineators in out at the Meadows that had been knocked down. And then I replaced all the LED lights out at the Meadows parking lot. We put new fixtures in there. So, and then before we had to do the survey, we had to brush hog the 27 acres out there. So we did that as well. So a lot of that stuff going on. Things I'm looking at in the future right now is looking into improving our security at the complex. We do have electronic or motorized gates with a keypad. I'm looking to make that a little bit more secure by checked with a company that can put in a little camera and a call box and then a keypad as well. So there's several different ways that you can enter the gate. You can even have, get in on your phone. So what I want to do is make it more secure for people that I can track that are coming in through the gate, and it will notify me on my phone. I can, during like off hours when I have everything closed up. Because we've had some kids get in there, they get the code from somebody, a coach or whatever, and constantly changing codes on gates. So this will make it more secure, and it's not really all that expensive because I can use all the same hardware I have for my gates. I don't have to change anything. It's just a matter of changing like some software. That's a few hardware things that need to be changed, and putting that new system on I'm trying to say the monitor, the gate monitor there. So that's gonna be about $2,400 to make those improvements on each gate, plus that'll be about a $70 cell phone fee a month for 2 gates. So, and I talked to my video camera guy today, who was doing some repairs on mine. I had a lot of problems with the cameras, like half of them going out. So I'm thinking of going to a cloud system where I can get everything just on my phone, and they won't break down as often with the new system. So I'm still waiting on a quote for that, but we're making a lot of improvements out there that we can right now, trying to spend some money and make things look good, and still saving a lot for that big project, and hopefully that will go through. So in the very beginning stages of that, so keeping our fingers crossed.
Or can you share your camera stuff with me when you get information, just because
Yeah.
we're in the same situation where what we've tried isn't really working well, and I would definitely like to consider upgrading.
Will do. That's all I have. Any questions? Yes.
On the same note, can you share with the East Lake Library if you
I
haven't
was just
already,
gonna ask that, yeah.
the resurfacing of the parking lot? The bids on that process?
Yep.
They need to do it.
Actually, I asked Lois when she did her parking lot to get one of her vendors, and that was Rose. That company was all the companies were like in the ballpark for the resurfacing and repairs, but then they were different when it came to like redoing the whole thing. One of them would just put a new coat or like a 1-inch new asphalt on top of what they already had, and then the other one was rip it all out and do the whole thing. So that was, but when they on their bid, when they just did the repair and resurfacing of the sealant, that was all about within a couple $1,000s of each other. But the company that I've used the last 2 times I've resealed my parking lot, and they're a local small business in Palm Harbor, and called Accurate Lines. And those guys, it's a family-owned business. They come up, they do a great job, and I had them do some extra stuff by replacing signs and bollards and things. So they by far were the best price that I got for that. So, and they do good work. I think Bill could say that too, because I think you used them before I did.
We've been using them for a long time, and we have a lot of pricing going out. They're still the best. It does look good when they're done.
The other comment, it was more of a comment I want to make, is from the East Lake High School soccer team was in dire straits with their field. They got very good feedback from Putnam, but they're on the wrong side of the lake for the soccer players. And in a last minute crunch, they went to Mark and he accommodated them. So the boosters and the parents and the East Lake High School staff are very happy with East Lake Rec's response. So that's good for the local community.
Good to hear.
Good.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor of accepting the director's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the Plum Harbor Library. We have a motion for the monthly financials for November.
Motion.
Give a second.
I second it.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? All in favor of accepting the monthly financials for November, Palm Harbor Library, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to accept the director's report.
Motion to accept the director's report.
Second.
Okay. Got here.
Ew. So you brought up the door earlier, Dan. Looks like there's a possibility that the county might be able to step in because it's on the envelope of the building. It's the outer set of doors rather than those inner set of doors. And obviously we've had some challenges with it, and even though they did come out and replace the rollers recently, it's still not behaving the way it should, and sticks open, and that lets the heat in and puts strain on the AC, et cetera, et cetera. And
Or in that it was 40 degrees in the lobby.
Oh, yeah, when it's cold too, yeah, that's the. We did finally get a replacement quote, which is probably in the $20,000 range, but we might wanna put in some hurricane shutters or other things as well, but we did have enough information to go ahead and send it off to Nancy, and she's gonna forward that on and see whether or not that's something the county can step in and handle. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. And actually, before I get to that, I'm gonna ask Kathy Watts to talk about Artful Evening.
All right, we have our 8th annual Artful Evening next month, January 24th, which is a Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Tickets are $25 ahead of time, and you also get a limited edition rubber duck.
Yes.
Because our featured artist, his work deals in rubber ducks. $35 at the door. There will be 10 local artists. There will be cocktails. There will be wine, and there will be the voices of jazz. And so it'll be an exciting evening for all.
You may see some familiar faces around the table pitching in as well, so that's going to be much appreciated.
Do I have to wear a tie?
What's that?
Do I have to wear a tie?
I mean,
This is
no.
Florida.
No.
Hey, I ask,
This is
if
Florida.
their ties are included, I don't go, but, no tie, I'm good.
You have to specifically wear a rubber duck tie.
I have one, actually.
And by the way, the rubber duck theme may sound silly, but actually the pieces are really good.
Oh, they are.
They're actually very impressive. Let's see. Just wanted to point out our outreach efforts, and actually that's something Kathy helps oversee much more than I do. And we had a very strong month in November, well over 1,100 people in the community that we interacted with, out and about. It's an important part of calling attention to what we offer and making sure people are aware of our services and getting them excited about the library. And you can't draw a direct parallel, but we know it's a factor in the fact that we've had sort of steadily increasing visits over the years. That's been a very good thing. And so that outreach component is really important to us, and we had big numbers last month. Let's see. And then I've got some closure information in there you can take a look at. That's it for the Palm Harbor Library.
Questions? Discussion? All those in favor of accepting the director's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No older new business?
No.
Okay, Eastlake Library, do we have a motion to accept the monthly financials for November?
Motion to accept the monthly financials for November.
Second.
Okay,
Oh, did I just take that away from you?
It's okay.
You can
I'll
have
get
it.
it back.
I rescind it.
Director's report, exactly.
any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to accept the director's report for November, Eastlake Library.
Make a motion. There we go.
I'll second it.
Okay. Lois?
Well, November started off great. We had the Murder Mystery, which was a huge success, off-site at Wentworth, and then of course the 25th anniversary celebration on the 9th of November, which was a huge success. In fact, I think it was a one-day record for traffic count and was very well received by the community. And then it went downhill. And Susan announced her resignation, which of course leaves a huge gap on our staff. We have been very fortunate because of the urgency of the matter, we posted it as quickly as possible. We had 5 very good candidates. The interviews were done yesterday and the day before. We are going to bring back several for second interviews and make a decision probably before the end of the month or the very beginning of January. Of course, having the holiday in the middle doesn't help. So we are moving forward with that. Once that is settled and we do have someone who has accepted the position, we then will proceed with finding a replacement for the volunteer coordinator, which right now is being done by the person who mentored and trained our former volunteer coordinator. So we're keeping her on with extra duties. The loss of Susan was not just, felt by the staff and the community, but also in terms of restructuring the staff. And that's what we're working on in terms of finding the best fit for a lot of the tasks and responsibilities and duties that Susan did. Most importantly, passports. She was the passport coordinator, which has been passed on to Sean. And then we're trying to diversify everybody's jobs so that, nobody is overwhelmed, and we're playing to those staff members' strengths and the things that they enjoy doing the most. So we will have a different workflow chart once we have it all in place, but it is moving through smoothly. I have to say I thank the staff for being supportive and helpful and giving their input and their feedback and their being as honest as possible about what they do like to do. The one thing that of course is always important to us is the passport services, and we want to continue that. Since that is usually successful and usually popular. On the other hand, the fingerprinting services has been extremely disappointing. We went with a company that was not our first choice, but they were the ones that offered to do it, whereas Identico, the big company, is the one that said, no, we're too close to other locations. This company has not followed through with good customer service. We're having people have to come back 2-3 times to do their fingerprints because of recalibration issues with the equipment. So I have ended the relationship with Certifix as of the 30th of this month, and I am going to reach out again to Identico to see if we can start a contract with them. They also are ones that will do the school employees and volunteers, which Certifix, after the fact, told us they do not. Okay, which was a huge loss for us because we were doing that partly because of where we're located and the fact that these school employees and volunteers have to travel several miles to find a location to have their fingerprints done. So I haven't given up on fingerprinting services. I've just given up on the company that we got involved in. It was not a good return on investment, not just for the money, but also for the good customer relations. Okay, people don't want to have to come back 2 or 3 times. So we'll try. Hey, we get up, we dust ourselves off, and we go on. ArborWise was here today. They removed all of the storm debris. They trimmed back the trees. They cut back the limbs that were half hanging from the trees. The biggest one that I was very concerned about was the large oak at the front of the property by the roadside there, and next to the sidewalk. So that was definitely something that needed to be done. We were able to get them out today, and then we can proceed with the other things that we want to do from post-hurricane damage, such as the gutters, and then looking into the parking lot, getting quotes on that for possible MSTU or to see what the cost would be. There's all different ranges because you've got resurfacing, you've got milling, or then you've got just like you were saying, a 1-inch layer, and the cost can go from $65,000 down to about $32,000 depending on what you're having done. So, but the parking lot's in very bad shape. It was not kept properly, and it's 25 years old, so we have to try to do something. And I think that's about it. We do have the one thing I do want to point out, because of the hurricanes, we delayed our unveiling of our capital campaign, but this is the preview edition of our capital campaign case statement. This is the argument that we are going to give to the legislators, to the politicians, to the community, to potential donors, to everybody about why we need the expansion, what the need is there, okay, and what it could be for the community going forward. So our theme is spreading our wings. This is an architect's rendition of what we could do with the building by going up as well as out. And there are a lot of things that we are not in compliance with. We don't have a fire suppression system. Okay, we are certainly not ADA compliant. This is our only public space, so hopefully, utilizing this and doing a good marketing campaign. The Friends also will be coming through with their annual fund drive to support the capital campaign as well. So we're looking to probably kick this off in February. And again, we will look at something like the Book for Brunch that we were doing the last time that we had to postpone. So wanted to let you have the preview edition and certainly welcome your feedback and your input.
When you're ready, I'll get you on the agenda for all of Landsbrook.
I'm sorry?
When you're ready,
Yes.
and we've kicked off, like I said, incremental, you wanna touch
Yes,
the commissioners at the right time with the right folks.
Mhm.
I'll get you on the agenda for Landsbrook.
would love to. That's
So you
what,
can do a
this is,
presentation
I'm
for the-
waiting to get an assistant director so they can come in, okay, and help me with the day-to-day, and I can go out and be the ambassador and the
Well, I mean,
outreach
you
coordinator.
did a 15-minute presentation, you have your PowerPoint in front
That's
of,
all I need.
potentially 1,800 homes, nowhere near
I
that, but
love to.
those are the folks that
Yes.
would be interested, and
This
then
is-
you
this
tell
is
them
gonna
when
be
to
my
call the
job this
commissioners. Because
Mhm.
they'll put those calls out at the right time when you need them, so use those as
Yes.
ammunition.
Yes, thank you.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor of accepting the director's report for East Lake Library, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any more business, folks?
No.
Okay, HR, do we have anything this month for you? No? Okay. Go ahead,
Madam Chair, could I just say something, real quick in regards, since she doesn't have anything to say? This board probably has no idea, but I wanted to give a public accolade to this department, the two of them. I've been here a long time, and in the 2 decades plus, we've never matched our employees' IRA prior to the first quarter of the following year. We all received an email today from Shelby, giving us that number, so we can now match our employees' IRA for 2024, like at the end of 2024, like most businesses should. So that's a total commitment that they are providing our staff, and I just wanted you guys to all know that they're just phenomenal in that office.
We hear good things.
yeah, we did.
We have 2 more superheroes on the team.
Let me say,
That's
as
good.
I travel to the different entities, one of them's always there.
Yep.
I have a hard time finding them back at the old headquarters sometimes, but everywhere I go, they're, oh yeah, that's.
It's made a great difference in our staffing, so.
And they're
Can't appreciate
actually,
them.
they're both great communicators. Anytime there's like a schedule change or a location change, we always know about it.
Yep.
I mean, it's instantaneous, so we, it's great.
And I think it's good that we've been able to at East Lake carve out a little corner, a little nook for Beth to when she can come
Beth
and
never knows when she
stay,
is in our little corner
which is
either.
great because it gives the staff an opportunity to get to know her and have confidence in her and
Yep.
have that good relationship that should they need her, there's it's not just a name or a phone number. They know who she is. And I do also wish to compliment her. It is never easy and never pleasant to have to terminate an employee. And that happened recently at East Lake Library, and I'm so glad Beth was there. She's the consummate professional. She handled it beautifully. Okay, something that I wouldn't want to do, but she was excellent at in her job. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I understand that wasn't a typical exit strategy for the former employee. So that speaks to having an expert to handle that
Yes.
situation.
Thank you. Thank you. Ron, do you have any more to add? We posted to the beginning.
Well, this is me separate from the project.
Okay.
I was on vacation, had a couple of deaths in my family, and it was a very bad November, but we're back and things are looking good. And it's nice to be part of the Fix-A family. Merry Christmas.
I don't think we have any agency items, but we do have a workshop scheduled for January 22nd. I believe it's at Palm Harbor Library at 6 p.m. If you don't have it on your schedule, you might want to check it.
On that, I was thinking about that, and I thought it would be a good idea if we encourage each of the entities to have the representatives there, but also invite one person from their advisory board that is another stakeholder from that entity to kind of get more interaction. Maybe the directors can come too if they're optional, get their feedback on the process. But most importantly, getting Beth's feedback on how this meeting should go, and letting her kind of lead it. And I don't know if that's something that we want to kind of, as a board, say that we want her to be the leader in this, or if it's just a natural thing. I'm just bringing it, but I want to try and I want to build on our momentum and really get everyone there just to not fix it, but just improve it.
Pulling on that, we need a firm agenda too, what we're gonna be covering. I'm not sure who's gonna create that. Is that gonna be Beth? Is it gonna
Right,
be
we don't.
her? We did, these are the 5 things we gotta accomplish during this session.
What do you think about that, Beth?
So I've already kind of put some thoughts together on the performance review program, and then so I have some ideas there, and I think you have your performance review, and then we were also talking about goals because they kind of go hand in hand. So I've kind of already put 2 ideas together, and so I've already talked to the directors about meeting with them in January to kind of go over those ideas so that I can maybe have some sort of something formulated for you in an agenda and those topics. It is really kind of hard because job descriptions do cross over into that, but we were kind of talking that, the performance review, let's let it lead the job descriptions, but on the side, I'm kind of doing that as well, just to be prepared to answer some questions if that were to come up in the performance review program.
What you're looking for?
So what I hear you saying is you're doing the agenda,
Yeah.
and you'll be attending that workshop.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. And then,
So run it?
I have no problem doing that if that's fine with me, to go forward with that. I don't want to overstep my bounds. I don't know where the pixel line is, but I have some,
That's part of what we need here.
and at least have a direction, and then you can say, no, that's not the way we want to go. We want to go this way. The actual performance review itself, really, it's not it's not worded bad or anything. I just think that there just needs to be another level to it. And I'm a math person, so I like percentages and prorations and things like that. So I think it just kind of needs that to be more equitable.
Maybe you and the chairman want to work together on that workshop agenda.
I can do that. I can commit after the first of the year.
Yeah, and I can kind of discuss my ideas with
Sounds
you.
good. I will make.
Is that where you're going, Matthew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, cause we already have talked about, getting some feedback, to her from our perspectives. And then that's what I was gonna suggest to at least run it by one board member, probably the chairpersons.
That works. And we'll have another meeting before that. We have one meeting here prior to that. Maybe we can have an agenda ready for the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Because it's the following week.
Yeah, I think that's doable.
We can do that, so it comes to the meeting first, we'll all have a copy. We have time.
At the regular fix meeting, you'll have
At
a
the regular
copy.
50, it's the week before, so we should.
Yeah. So I'll kind of do all the behind the scenes stuff so that there's something there, so.
I was gonna encourage the advisory board to nominate someone to come with me, and then I was gonna pitch it as they were gonna be a contributor and interactive as opposed to an observer, but I don't wanna overstep the bounds of this board if we're gonna be, do we want that level of interaction or not?
I think we want the data.
I think we want the data and the
We want
input.
the data, we want feedback. I mean,
The
that's
review
really what
process
it's
is-
all about. We want feedback. How did the advisory boards feel? I mean, as the representatives, yes, we know how you guys feel. How does the other advisory boards feel? That's, the members feel. That's the, what we'd
That was
like
the
to
most
get.
beneficial part of the review
Exactly,
process.
exactly.
So,
So yes, I would
Yeah.
agree, we would like to have an additional member of the advisory boards here at the workshop.
At the Palmer Bar.
Yes, I'm sorry, at the Palm Harbor Library on the
Just so you know-
22nd.
just so you know where to go.
At 6:30, right? Is that, did I get the time right? Okay.
It's the 22nd. 22nd. It's the week, it's the following week after a board meeting. So,
I just have one other point of business before we adjourn. There was a mention from John today that because there are 2 new county commissioners, Okay, at least his county commissioner recently, when he met him, indicated that he was looking to replace John because that is his prerogative as the new county commissioner.
That's what he was told by another
If you
county
recall, when Sandy was up for, a second term, okay, we wrote in support, I know I did, wrote in support of keeping her on for another year to Commissioner Scott, and he again said thank you, and he would certainly take into consideration. I don't know if it made a difference, but we have two really good board members here. Now, Tamara was just, brought on by Charlie Justice, but Charlie's not a commissioner anymore. We don't know how Commissioner Nowicki, is that right?
I think so.
Nowicki feel, if he's thinking to replace, but I would just like to recommend that, why don't we consider, writing letters of support, to keep them, I mean, especially now, we've got this thing with Cadence Bank, and suppose somebody comes along and, yeah, we don't want to, no,
Great strategy.
right?
Actually, I
That's
went
just
to him
my
and I introduced
recommendation.
myself,
Right?
because I'm sure he has no idea. And he was like, well, yeah, I gotta appoint somebody, and I'm like, well, my term's not up till next year.
Yeah, I think they.
And that was the whole thing, I think it goes, I don't think they can do it, I think it goes by
They have
term
to
date.
do it by the term.
Sure, okay,
I think they're
That's,
They
Yeah, I
can really
don't-
do whatever they want.
They can
I
do what they
believe
want.
when it came up with you, Sandy, I believe we were told it's the commissioner's prerogative.
Yeah.
They can
Yes.
pull you off the
It was-
board and,
I was at the point of being
of being,
reappointed though.
yes, it
but I
was
think
a
they can pull you off
second
your
term.
term,
They
it doesn't
can.
They
matter.
can do whatever
Yeah.
they want.
Because I was on LPA, local planning agency, for 12 years or something. I was first appointed by Neil Brickfield. Anybody remember him?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
And then Maroney, and then Kathleen Peters, and there was two different, different parties, whatever, but or different candidates. But every time they came to me and said, "Would you?" They were looking to fill their spot pursuant to their new positions.
Do we
So I
send
think
an
they have the
email
ultimate decision.
Representing the FIXA board to
I
those
don't
two
know.
commissioners?
I did personally.
I mean, I
you
can do
know,
one separately, I mean,
Right.
we all can, but, I mean, I think the FIXA board carries a little more weight than we do.
And I've reached out to introduce myself but haven't heard back, just to try to make a
Yeah.
connection there, but I
Yeah.
haven't heard back yet.
You know,
we
it's-
don't know anything about them.
It would mean a lot, and maybe you could have the chair do it. We were talking about before the meeting how we have a board a perfect board right now.
Yeah,
And that
Let's
this is
not
what
rock the boat.
happens when you have a perfect board.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the roller coaster.
Connie wants us to fail.
If
All
I
right,
recall
I'll put that in
correctly, this board made a motion, approved unanimously that, I think when you were, this happened, that we would, as a board, with the advice of the directors, create a list of our candidates for replacement when they come up, to get that to the county commissioners. So maybe we put that together, now, and say, here's our current board, we're happy with it. Here's a list of candidates when the terms come up,
That's good.
and not necessarily mention that we're gonna replace people who just got here.
Right.
We already agreed that we would do that, so, we can just follow up on that, just make that happen. And I think it was, and I have to look back at the notes, it was, we would have a list, and I think it was each entity would come up with 2 people, and we just have this rotating list of candidates, just in case one of us quits or,
Right.
And you are making that task of those commissioners finding and filling those positions easier. They are looking for those opportunities overall. They don't want to spend time going, are you gonna do it or not? And helping them along kind of assumes that, oh, maybe I don't have to replace John right now.
yeah,
As a
if we
new county
put
commissioner.
term ends this time, so.
Right.
And Tamara, just a question, did you even talk to Commissioner Justice before he appointed you?
Yes.
See, I never talked to Commissioner Long. I talked to her staff. Never talked to Commissioner Long.
I saw him at an event,
That's
so it
probably
was
why,
kind of
yeah.
yeah, we talked for a while, but.
I was just curious.
Sandy,
Well,
you're off at the end of this year, right? Your
Um,
term limits?
11/30/2025.
This for you.
2025.
Next
Five.
November.
Yeah.
And then, who else? Is anyone else up? Is
Anybody
Phil up?
else up?
Let's go.
Yours says September,
Lois,
I
mine
got
says,
your
mine says 2024.
Too bad.
So sad.
Don't be covering it up.
Right here.
Oh, no. Mine has been dates on
Yeah,
it.
Jeff did on mine.
Yeah, mine's only 5, but
Yours is,
again, it's.
yours is infinite. You don't have an end date. I have an end date.
No, I don't know, it was just a suggestion because, you know, in light of the fact that, you know, John is our treasurer and doing such a good job and now handling this matter with Cadence Bank. And I don't know how, you know, your commissioner is gonna feel, I don't know, I think they're new, they're feeling their way. They don't know what they can and can't do and
The
They've been
impact of
trying to
changing
write
the
the
board,
rates.
the impact of changing the board at this point is detrimental to the
yes, and
functionality of
I
what
think
the
just
board
a
is today.
simple letter from the commissioner, from the chairperson, you know, on
We can all
behalf
sign
of the FIXA board
We're good.
would help, yeah.
Leave us alone.
Motion to do that?
We can all sign it.
I don't know, Andy,
Then
do
we
we need a
vote.
motion?
And
We already have
yesterday-
the
motion to do
At
that.
yesterday's meeting, after they finished the
Okay, yeah, we
meetings,
do.
they voted
We need a
on
motion.
I'd like
We
the
already have
motion
this
because it shows.
ongoing
Filling
list that we're supposed to be doing.
some
So it
positions.
shows-
Oh,
We just
So write a
Okay.
letter on behalf of the
Specifically,
people that
I think
Oh,
you do.
specifically.
shut this
Yes, decision.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I make a
Right.
motion that the chairman sends a letter shutting down any talk of replacing current board members.
Second.
Good.
Completely cool with every
Shut
single
it down.
language.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You got a lot of homework, Sandy.
I'll get it done.
Point of,
Just a quick clarification, the time for that workshop is 6 p.m.
Oh, 6, okay.
On the 22nd of January.
22nd at 6.
And your
And
meeting
on-
is at 6 p.m.
Yeah, our
next
meeting,
month.
can I put 6:30?
No, you put 6
Oh,
p.m.
No, it was somebody said
It was
6:30, I just
just
wanna make sure everybody knew.
Right.
Yeah, but just this one we missed.
Yeah, just today is what 6:30.
and just a point of clarification, because it says at Parks and Recreation, that is true, but the location will be Harbor Hall, as we still don't have a classroom at the center.
okay.
For sure.
I knew it was.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Aware.
All right.
Because even if you close that off, it's too small.
Close what up?
Isn't there that bifold door then in between?
I have
Or am
plastic
thinking the
bags,
other one?
I have Ziploc bags for everybody.
But everything, the furniture and the floor is torn up and you can't see.
Oh,
I'm sorry, one thing I can make.
is there any, we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Anybody can take home goodie bags?